Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, where I'm previewing every game of Week 17 here in the NFL. So be sure to subscribe to my page to get all of my videos delivered directly to your inbox on a daily basis. Next game that's up is a very crucial game to the NFC playoff picture when the Chicago Bears travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Bears with a record of 9-6, the Lions with a record of 4-11. Right now, the Bears sit right outside the playoffs and need a Minnesota loss, and they need to win in order to slip into that second wild card spot there at 10-6. So that's what's on the line for the Bears. The Lions obviously in a situation where they're sort of playing the string out, and they'll do so at home with a high-powered offense, and it remains to be seen how motivated they are to play in this game. But first with the Bears have been a little bit inconsistent this whole season. Their offense in times has looked great, at times has looked terrible. You saw last week their offense, they played at Arizona, which is a tough trip for some teams, but given how bad Arizona is, that trip hasn't been as tough. I mean, you could ask the Lions actually how tough that trip is, because they went there the week before and got throttled by the Cardinals. The Bears pulled out the win last week. It wasn't pretty from an offensive perspective, but the Bears defense was able to clamp down on Ryan Lindley, as many other defenses have, and they were able to pull out the win. Last week you saw Peanut Tillman intercept the ball, return it for a touchdown, and sort of change the landscape of that game. Number one, we've seen Peanut Tillman do that a lot this year. We've seen the Bears defense as a whole do that a lot this year. And the Bears defense, stats and yardage-wise, is probably not where you'd expect it to be, because I know when I think of the Bears, I think of them as a really top echelon defense in every perspective. All right, but when you look at it, the numbers are not where you expect them to be in that case, but where they do thrive is when they force turnovers. Okay, and the Bears have the tendency to force turnovers and either turn them into touchdowns or turn them into extremely favorable field position for their offense. So I look for that to be really the turning point in this game. If the Bears can force Matt Stafford into turnovers, which, let's face it, whether it's at home or on the road this season, he's been prone to do, I think they have a very good chance of pulling out this win on the road and getting to that 10-win mark where they need to be. Jay Cutler, I think, realizes the gravity of this moment. I look for him to have a solid game. He has the capability to have a great game against this Detroit secondary that we have seen time and time again get carved up by, average to great quarterbacks. Jay Cutler probably falls in the middle there, probably from good to a very good quarterback. So Brandon Marshall, big game for him. He's had a great season. He can have a field day against this defense. Matt Forte was in a walking boot on Monday around the Bears facility. He's quoted as saying he doesn't think there's any way that he'll miss this Week 17 game. So you should be good from that perspective, but that's something you should probably monitor as the week goes on here. Julius Peppers is coming off a 3-sack game versus the Cardinals. Now, I believe it's still the case. The Cardinals' offensive line is consistently rated on Pro Football Focus as the worst in football. But Julius Peppers, can he get? We know Stafford's going to throw the ball a lot. The Chicago defense knows that, and I like the Bears' defense against a predictable offense like the Lions to be able to force some turnovers. As far as the Lions go, obviously, congrats to Calvin Johnson for breaking Jerry Rice's single-season receiving yardage mark. He has a very good chance to get to 2,000 yards for the season, which would be phenomenal. I think there's a pretty good chance he gets that because Detroit, with nothing to play for, will probably be forcing him the ball a little more than usual. I look for Stafford to put up the same numbers. I just look for maybe some mistakes from him. We'll see how motivated that defense is, because let's face it, even when that defense is motivated, it doesn't usually translate to them really stopping other offenses most of the time. So we'll see how the defense comes out. We'll see how the crowd comes out. Much was expected of the Lions heading into the season. They were a playoff team last year. The thought was they'd take another step forward maybe, and maybe challenge the Packers or maybe be an 11-5 team as opposed to 10-6 last year. Well, as we know, that hasn't materialized. What you're really seeing coming to fruition is a couple things. Number one, Jim Schwartz is probably not the coach that's going to take you to the next level as an organization. He's probably gotten this core as far as he can 10-6 wild card playoff berth. He doesn't have control of these guys. The attitude problems on the Lions are the same ones I saw last year, and I think everyone saw last year. So they need someone to come in, harness. Obviously, Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson connection is great. Need someone to harness that team. They have the talent. Need to get them headed in the right direction so in the years to come they can make a push. They still have a young core. All right, Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Sue. They have a lot of good young players. They need to fill a couple holes on the offensive line. Okay, maybe in the linebacking core. All right, and definitely in the back end of their defense, which a lot of teams need help. To be fair, it's not just the Lions. But I think you might see either they may give Jim Schwartz one more year. I wouldn't be surprised to see them fire him after this year, but we'll see how that plays out. I'll question Detroit's effort in this game only because they have so many personalities on that team that you have no idea on a regular week what you're going to get from them. Right now, the Bears are 3-point favorites on the road in Detroit. I like the Bears -3 to go into Detroit and get to that 10 wins. I don't think it'll be a pretty game. I think it'll be a typical rivalry game. But I like the Bears -3 on the road to get to their 10th win in Detroit. Let me know what you guys think on the YouTube comments here. As always, subscribe to my page and catch me on Twitter as well, @SNewsAnalysis. Thanks, guys.